attention. It is 5 o'clock on Monday, sometime in October, whatever date this is. And so we're here at the workshop, and Eric Palmer, but we're ready. Everybody's in attendance.
Thanks, Mayor. As you all know, we just adopted our budget not long ago. During those workshop discussions, we touched on the CIP, so it kind of informed us of what we can do with our operating side. You don't have to adopt the CIP with your operating budget, but you have to adopt that plan, to execute it with your budget and actually do the work. So tonight, what we would like to do is have Chris again walk through the projects that we have to do this year. James Gilly, our financial advisor, is here to talk to us again about the certificates of obligation. We have an agenda item on your agenda for tomorrow, which is a resolution to issue a notice of intent to incur debt through those certificates of obligation. You have the resolution in front of you. We have an hour. We have an EC meeting right after this, so we can go through the projects, talk about the financing, certificates of obligation. Then I would like to take a look at that resolution and answer the questions you asked on that, so we can go tomorrow with an understanding of where we're at. So, Chris, sure. Start off with the projects.
So these are the documents that y'all seen before. I just stayed up, so not the point. So the way that this is broken down is whenever you get your CIP to take care of what you got, your capital expanding for the future, and your transportation roadways. So what kind of is being proposed is with the $3.5 million issue is really looking at what we can cover in the next year, plus some projects that are underway or kind of phase 2. So when you look at, your water line number 2 improvement, which is the well, your storage tank replacement, recoating, you skip down your rehab project that you have one contract ongoing, and then there's a phase 2 with that. You add those up, and then in your, I didn't write that down, sorry, on my sheet, on the next one. So the next big things that are coming up are obviously the water plant number 3. There's an additional booster pump that's needed out there. So that's right now your limiting factor is booster pump capacity. And then getting design of water plant number 4 and the Town Creek wastewater plant started. So skipping all the rest of them are really developer driven. So when you look at, what do we got here? This water line above Buffalo Springs. The downtown is, when developers need it, obviously we'll put that line in, but it's not something that has to be done today. Your downtown water line replacement, which is, one of the bigger items on here, that was driven by the downtown improvement project. So until the downtown improvements is moving forward, and there's funding for that, there's no reason to do this project because the whole intent is this happens right as or right before, so we're not replacing paving that takes twice.
Where are we on that? Is that a 2024?
It can be. Design is pretty well done.
Yeah.
It's just on the shelf. So once kind of MEDC decides on a path of the downtown improvements, and I know there's still some back and forth on the scope and the design. Once that's done, they have a cost estimate, and then they find funding for the downtown improvements, then this one obviously will hold back up. Kind of based on what we know, MEDC doesn't have that funding set aside for that project. So, yes, it's listed as 2024 as it could. Likelihood, it's all moving back until that.
Now go back and say what you said about a booster pump.
Oh, yeah, water plant number 3. So that's 197. So at that site, so we've had the booster pump issues out there. So this is unrelated to that. So back when we did the last water plant improvements project, which added a second cooling tower, and our storage unit bigger, it was the design was put together and it was bid out. It was designed to wait on that booster pump bid. So this is adding it.
This is adding a 4th booster pump.
Adding an additional booster pump on that side.
So how many do we run all the time? There 2?
No, right, so there's 3 current.
I know, but how many are in use constant?
They're not, so it's when they're called on. So typically there's 1 or 2 running. when they're called. I mean, it doesn't, I don't have the run times in front of me, but they're not running 24 hours.
So there's a lead lag, there's 2 lead lag, or is there 3
There's
lead
three,
lag?
so they alternate. So the first one calls on when the pressure drops in the system, the pressure continues to drop, they'll call it 3, pressure continues to drop, they'll call 2, 3.
Okay, so 2 lag drops.
And the way that you're required to design is with the largest one out of service. So state requires it, so if, like us, you have a pump that was out, now it's part of the design considerations, the pump is out, so you're not using your largest pump that you have on site. So this ups your physical capacity and your paper capacity, because you're allowed to now count 3 versus 2.
It looks like enough money for 3 pumps.
Nah.
40 grand a piece. I think we paid 40 for the new one.
Well, it's more than the pump, it's adding piping, electrical, it's not set up for a full pump.
And so it was, it's not 120, but it was bid back in 2021. Just, so as part of a larger project, it came in at 95,000 or so to install it. If it's done, obviously, the standalone, and that was 3-4 years ago at this point. Not something that, we start immediately, but kind of as things continue to progress, that's an easy kind of relatively low hanging fruit to up water tank capacity before you with the big plant overboard.
And this is just the wish list, right? The first one was the have to do.
Exactly.
Just make a choice.
This is the wish list that's development driven. If everything
Yeah.
stops,
Okay,
all of this stops.
I just want to be sure.
If development doesn't, but you still have to do everything on the first one.
Yeah.
That's just taking care of what you got. So, kind of we add those together. So, all right, excuse me, I skipped. Your wastewater treatment plant also getting that started for the design, the new one. All those add up to about 4.2 million in projects, including engineering, inflation, contingencies, everything else. So with the bond issue that you're looking at 3.5, with the closing costs of around 4%, you'd be looking at roughly $800,000 delta between the bonds you can sell on these projects. So where that would cover is impact fees. So to date, so of those projects that I listed, again, kind of ignoring all the further out numbers, a portion of your water plant improvements, water plant 2 can be paid for by impact fees because you're upping the size of the well. So you're upping the size of the well, you're increasing capacity, you increase capacity for the pump, so you can use impact fees to pay for that. The booster pump, you can put in there. Your second phase of your sewer rehab project has some lines that are being upsized. So anytime you're increasing capacity, you can use impact fees to pay for those. Your booster pump addition, and then obviously the design of the new plants, all of those are impact fee capable. So when we look at, so we have 808 left remaining out of kind of that short list. When we look at for the impact fees that we are assuming for the next year. So Montgomery section 1 paid last week before last, $292,000 for their first section of development. Montgomery section 2, which is under construction, is another $320,000 that has not been paid yet.
320, is it?
320. And then Redbird phase 1, which is just the first 174 lots, is $633,000. So that's 1.2. So the 808 shortfall between the bonds and all the projects, you're looking at about 1.2. And those are the for sure ones. So,
Well, but, so Redbird,
yeah,
because we have no piping out there at all yet,
correct.
right?
They're funding,
Some of it.
well, all of it. So the water line to get all the way to them is part of their agreement to fund. And the force main to get their sewer out is their agreement to fund. And there is some impact fee credit that they will get off of those projects, but it can be deferred on the future. Because part of his agreement is also that he helps with the timing of improvements to help service future phases, so we can work on, let's push this back. But he only would be credit on the water line portion, because the sewer portion was not in the impact fees. The other two main developments are there's a lot of other developments in the works that would be potential impact fees, but most likely we're never going to section 3. They said they're about 80% likely that they're going to plat this year, depending on how home sales go, and that's another 300. It's not. So, that's kind of the goal. Taking the bonds to cover the immediate need projects and getting those going, and using the impact fees to fund the big plant designs and some of these other, the booster pump initiative, things like that to help cash flow that out.
Grand total needed?
So you're taking the impact fees minus less the 4.2 million? You're deducting that from that figure?
So 4.2, so the total projects that are the absolute, we need to get going on is around 4.2. If you sell 3.5 in bonds, minus closing costs, you're left with about 3.35. That's all. So that's the $800,000 delta between what your 3.5 bond issue would cover,
Okay.
and what the total estimated cost of all those projects are. And that 800 would be impact fee eligible, which our projections that we would get around 1.2 this calendar year from those impact fees. Of which 300 is paid, 292 is already.
So Chris, how much did you say the first page was? Am I not seeing this?
There's not a total at the bottom.
I'm like, where are you seeing
There is,
4.2?
it's,
Yeah.
this is, so what these are, this is everything on your capital improvement.
Yeah.
So the capital improvement plan goes a lot more detail, this
Yes.
summarized it. But we knew, still can't all be done with that. So when you look at what needs to be done, it's water plant 2, it's the rehab, sanitary sewer rehab projects, including this 200,000 in 2025. So these are the projects on this sheet that are what we would think that the allocation of the bond would go to. Now, the big thing about the bonds is they're very, they're not specific. So we're not saying in the NOI that when James over it is to fund water plant 2 improvements and sewer rehab. It is water and sewer improvements. To give us the most flexibility, if something changes, costs are different, we have that flexibility in it, and we're not specifically stating fundamentals. Exactly.
So then you have, I see 2.8. Where are you getting the 4.2?
So
Oh, are you adding the other, the 2024? Okay. But then I see that it's 4 million.
yeah,
That still doesn't happen.
it
Yeah,
doesn't,
it
because
doesn't.
you're ignoring a lot of, so on this sheet, the only thing you're adding is the 120, and then a total of 800 for the water plant number 4 and the Town Creek wastewater plant for survey, design, testing, etc., just to get those started, not the construction of those projects. So that's why these numbers don't add up. This is everything based on your CIP consolidated,
Yeah.
but the actual what, based on the 3.5 that we could do is not everything on that list. Another one, so like this old Claresville water line loop, that's the Redbird funded project. So again, this is the cost of it. Funding source is not from the city, correct? It's from Redbird.
Mike, do you see anything that could be added? Do you see?
Could be added, I mean, the only thing that comes off the top of my head that we
Or should
could
be?
add is the bleach conversion. That's still it's still a want to, it's not a have to.
Yeah. How much is that?
So those are in here
So,
on,
25. Yeah.
they're kind of lumped into these.
oh, okay, so that's all, okay.
Correct.
So then if you get that money, then it would take care of that want, correct?
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was part of that plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's not in the short list,
Yeah.
but it's in the overall, again,
To 2025.
we would have the ability to be able to, okay, these projects come in, maybe inflation goes away, we'll have some flexibility in that. And we could go back and let's say, let's put it up there. Things like the disinfection would not be a impact item, because you're not increasing capacity, so that's definitely, we will look at using the bond funds, use our impact fees to pay for the expansion projects.
So Gary, Chris, can y'all think of anything? I mean, I don't know, like, they give us bond and we could have done 5 million because,
Well, I think we're kind of limited.
but I'm just saying, is there anything that we need to pay attention to too? That, are any holes or any potential gotchas?
I mean, there's always, the things that have been cut off kind of year after year,
Yeah.
lift stations.
Yeah.
So the lift stations have been we need to work with the lift station, we need to work with the lift stations. And really, if you scroll back up here, sorry. A lot of those big lift station projects got deferred 2025 a little bit, 2024, but 2025 and beyond is when the lift stations start coming in, because again, it's, you can repair, you can keep on going, but we can't go without, obviously, water lines.
Yeah,
And we have to get the rehab projects
yeah,
done
there's a whole thing.
due to the issues and also just based on what we spent. So we spent money on the cleaning and the televising portion, but they have a useful life to them, that they're no longer valid data. So we don't want to wait too long, and then there's a bunch of surprises when we get to that.
We're also keeping in mind that with this, there's also more cost coming for construction, for water plant and sewer plant. We have to remember that there's,
But that's always going to be in the yearly budget, right? Or,
no, these are the one-time costs, like for the new sewer plant,
Right.
Town Creek, and for the new water plant,
Oh, gotcha.
water plant 4. There's going to be some
yeah.
some pretty major capital costs there.
Correct. And that's why when you look at this, the totals of this, sorry, scroll up. You have that sewer plant, and you have the water plant. That's the full cost. What we're saying is now is getting design started.
Sure, okay.
This is not, one and done. Obviously, we get this done, we get these projects started, then it's, okay, what does the next 2-3 years look like? What are our options for that? Because we know that we're, likely the revenue bonds are going to be used up for the water and sewer side, so what other funding options do we have for those big projects? But this at least get us to kind of stopping points with the design, so the design is ready to go, you already have a permit underway, so we're making incremental steps to get there. It's not obviously biting off the whole construction project until we're kind of funding mechanism in place.
Too much money for you to
But that first page, I think, is like those have-tos, it has them.
And,
Or
it's
it's getting
important.
more expensive later on. We keep-
And, especially when you get down, really with everything further out, our ability to support bonds, our ability to fund things with ad valorem taxes going up, sales taxes going up, and other funding sources with, Home Depot, after their payback, that's $1 million a year in sales tax, their ad valorem, I don't remember the number. Redbird, their ad valorem tax, if I remember right, was $1 million, $1.2 million a year, if I remember, at full development, so obviously we don't take time to build out. But, some of these are,
I don't like to spend my commission check before I get a commission
oh,
check.
agreed.
So we can talk about those coming in, but we don't know what that's going to be.
Right, I mean, they keep raising interest rates, so somehow it's just going to continue to slow.
Yeah.
And, which is again, kind of getting the design complete. Right now, the projection is, they're going to build 75 houses a year, and interest rates go up, and they're selling 30 houses a year, well, we'll move that construction back.
Right.
And if it just keep on, let's get to a point where we're ready to pull the trigger and get these projects going. But none of it, our recommendation is always going to be, okay, now that we're at this point, where are we at based on our actual usage? Okay, is it time, is it not time? How do we adjust that before we take that next step? To spend those funds.
All right, so this explains what we want to do with the bond, right? But we know that we have some balance in our projects.
Don't see that in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we want to touch that, but obviously.
No, we don't want to touch it
It's
for
up to you
these
guys.
projects, right? But we have other projects
Yeah.
that need to be on our CIP budget.
This is all live.
Yeah, so that's the third sheet up there is the road. There you go. So going through this list for 2024, first item on there, that is Home Depot. And this item here is part of the Home Depot agreement. They complete intersection improvements and the repaving portion, a portion of it in that. The big things that we had on the list that aren't included in here, in the bond is Clapper was a big one, because, it's a complete redo.
We have to look on it eventually, because it's the first time it's down there, somebody falls off that road, we'll get our asses too long.
The mine was on the front over.
Oh, I remember this is, so Shepherd Street, this is part of Chris Cheatham's agreement with the city. So this is not these are not direct city costs, obviously you're still paying back the time, but the Shepherd Street is when that corner develops, Chris is required to complete the widening of the road. So again, it's listed on here, kind of like the capital, but the source of funding is different. And then Cheryl here asked about Buffalo Springs in general. So the rest of it was split between Home Depot and Lone Star Parkway, and then Lone Star Parkway to 1097 for 2025, 2026. Again, it can last that long.
Mike, we talked about, there's a program or a system that you use that you monitor the street conditions with.
Well, there was one that I was looking at, but we never pulled the trigger on it.
You never did it. Is there a reason?
No particular reason other than just not ready to pull the trigger on it, not having a full plan of what we were going to do with the money for this year.
So we really need a comprehensive of our streets before we commit to any other streets, other than what we already are getting halfway paid for. Right?
Yeah, I think, having a more concise inventory and condition assessment that puts some scoring and ranking to it. I think we all generally know what streets are that, Buffalo Springs, Clapper, and some of the other ones. But, what, plus Morgan, how we rank those and prioritize now. This was based on kind of that general knowledge and a scoring system, which, the system that Mike was looking at was an app-based. Put in our dash, scans the road, counts the number of cracks, number of other issues, and tries to put a score to it.
So what do we got to do to get something like that on our street?
An assessment system, just have to research, put a big package together.
Can we pay for that out of project?
I don't know, that's a good question.
Are they limited since these are water and
I
sewer?
can't see it.
Not on the bond. We have on
How much was that, right?
$800,000 for the CIP.
$5,000.
Yeah.
$5,000, that's not.
25 or 25?
5. Yeah. We have, so I'm going from memory here, but I believe there's 20,000 for this year in the general fund for street repairs minor that I don't think we would have, I don't think it would be inappropriate at all to do that.
Get us
It's
to
going towards
towards
street repairs, planning for street repairs that we can look at.
I think that'd be.
I really think we need to see.
That's well spent.
you know, because
Right.
we need to spend some money on the streets, but we want to make sure, because we don't have a lot of it.
Yeah.
We need to make sure we
We need to
spend it when we can, right, where it's
But
worth.
we need to prioritize what
Exactly, but that's what I mean, we need to spend some, but where, we need to know where.
Yeah, and so y'all keep in mind that this is, so there's different versions of this technology. There's one where you can pay a company to come out and actually scan the road, like where they're driving over it, scanning it, but that's way more expensive. I couldn't even get a good ballpark because we're so small. They told me the only way they would come out is if we partnered with someone else. But the ballpark that they gave me was 30 or 40 grand.
That's still not bad.
So this is the one that I found was, it's a smartphone that you mount in the dash, and it's taking a picture of everything, a video, and then that video is being sent to the company for them to evaluate and do an assessment that way. So it's not actually scanning the road.
How does it take it out, like gypsum or?
Exactly, that's what mine does.
Yeah, and like how the wide gaps, like on Clipper, if you're going down Clipper, it can easily go in the middle, those gaps on the side, man, that's
Yeah.
bust my head.
Or a pothole, it's not a pothole, it's just a dip.
Yes, that's
We'll
buckles.
do some research, we'll see what other cities can use.
Right.
Put some-
Okay, but
We
Chris,
need to spend some money on our streets.
yeah,
What does the county use? Don't we have an interlocal agreement with the county?
We'll find out.
Good luck with that.
Oh, now, they're helpful on the street. They may not be helpful on roads.
Carol, the last time the
You
city
gotta
had
call
help,
it, you gotta call it right.
Carol, the last time we had city help on the roads from the county was Bo.
No,
No?
they've been on streets in the town since.
So I think it was 2020,
COVID.
we were providing material, they were providing labor, but it kept them pretty busy, but I think as of recent, kind of my experience with them is that you will get you on the list,
Yeah.
it never happens.
Yeah.
We're on the list, but the list never gets shortened.
Exactly.
But if you call and ask to see that list once a week, they'll come. They'll come. Trust me.
Persistence pays.
Yep.
So we will put together some,
Something for us to get, so we got something to break the roads and say, that's consistent with what we have, right? And then we can even do, I know you don't want to fix Clipper, but we at least have to fix the end by gyms. Where it's falling in the ditch.
We have fixed Clipper Street so many.
Well, it shows you
Just
too,
rebase
it's 6
it.
layers.
You just have to rebase it.
Kind of like McGowan Street. Up there, downtown improvement.
I agree with you.
But they gotta go into the base and get fix the base.
Then maybe.
Yeah, that's why that cost for Clipper was, I think,
It's high.
Is Clipper
650,000.
included in the downtown improvement plan?
No, it's
Okay.
not. I believe that most of the streetscape work was
South Community Center?
correct. Community Center south to 105, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
I think
And
you're right.
then east of Prairie.
Clipper's been such a hot topic for
It's 149, we take the health part.
so are we okay with you guys kind of setting the transportation stuff to the side?
To the side.
Mhm.
And we'll,
Until we get
Yeah, to get those numbers, yeah.
study.
yeah, we'll work on getting this inventory, whether software, whatever you want to call it together, get an assessment on our roads now.
Because if we could get it done early enough in the fiscal, we do have not a ton, we got a little money, but maybe we could get some so we can see we could see street progress this year, you know, in this fiscal year.
Yeah, I think we get your this on pretty quick. Do you have any questions for Chris on any of the specific projects?
I did have one question, Chris, about the one for Buffalo Springs and Brandon. So are you telling me that in 2024, that the paving from 105 to the end of the property for Home Depot is going to take 2 years?
No. So it was just that, it's one line item that was split between two projects. So that Home Depot was funding, obviously, from 105 to their northern property line. And then the next project on the heels of Buffalo, of that project would be from their northern property line to Lone Star Parkway. Second project, not included in
And then
this
from
at
Lone Star
all.
Parkway?
And then from Lone Star Parkway to 1097. So that kind of, those are the three phases of it. So the reason that it's split over 2 years is that just 900 is the first phase, which is the Home Depot phase. And then, again, working from south to north, going with the next one.
We need to get another business sector up past there.
Aren't they the gas station?
Oh, the gas station's coming.
Which
At
one?
that corner.
Buffalo Springs.
Lone Star,
And
Buffalo.
Lone Star Parkway?
Oh, where the cattle pasture is?
No, right where the houses, on the northwest corner.
Houses.
Right where the houses on that corner, the northwest corner.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah,
Where did I
That
see
may
it?
have a business.
it was in this, tomorrow's agenda, right?
That's right here.
There's
There's an escrow agreement on there.
Yeah.
Shell,
that's where it
You
is.
have to check it out.
I guarantee it's not shit.
I don't understand that either. I was like, it's just not even a mile down the road, you got Shell.
It's not making sense.
Is it not, is it the same people
Maybe
that own the
that's
Shell?
That's what's crazy.
That's what I was.
Is
You're
it?
right, I mean, it's just, it can't be the same people. The
Oh,
people themselves.
yeah,
I don't
it
know.
could be.
Well, I guess you're not the people.
I guess you don't go. That's gonna make that intersection even worse though, when people try to pull out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man, it kills your roundabout.
Yeah, it totally kills your roundabout.
Get
Yeah.
on with the money here.
Okay.
So consensus wise, you all good with these projects?
I don't see any problem with it.
And I know there's hard to have to agree to spend this money, but yes, we got to keep this moving.
It's necessary.
Are you ready to move into the resolution? Maybe James kind of do a recap of his analysis and we'll talk about that.
I mean, we went over the analysis, and based off of what we gotta spend, we're gonna have to have the 3.5 to do all the stuff we have to do, right?
Right.
So it makes our decision for us. So we know our total.
Changing from the last time we saw you,
No.
as far as payments or years?
So we know our payments about 270,000, 75,000 a year, basically. And it gets paid for by the utility revenue, so.
And this is based on what we are going to bring in, supposed to bring in, already have brought
Yes,
in,
always.
in utility.
In today's numbers that we're growing,
It's this number right
so
here.
it'll be getting bigger.
It's this number right here that we currently bring in.
Yeah.
And this number here is the payment.
Yeah.
That's right. That's, looking at the last year's 2022 income from the utility system.
Okay.
It does appear that y'all covered that without, just assuming you bring in the same amount from as you did in 2022, you would not have to
Change it.
raise utility rates. However, I always suggest to just do little small incremental adjustments every year as your costs go up.
They're really high.
Then what we gonna discuss going up on impact fees?
I'm sorry.
Are we gonna discuss going up on impact fees?
We're going to have, part of our studies going to be transportation.
So-
But I think you guys just did a update.
Yeah, we were rather have to bring it to y'all to get through the process,
Yeah.
but it's only going to go up because after you add in all the additional connections, the total amount per connection, I think, was within $100 per connection. So,
That's a nice little chunk.
yeah,
It's more than $10.
yeah.
So, okay, so then that impact fee going up will definitely,
Yeah, that helps,
As
you know, those numbers that we talked about.
yeah, but the number, so like section 3, River Unit Phase 1, if we do the impact fees prior to them paying, do they get the new impact fees? Or
They
do
get
we-
the impact fees at the time of plat.
Okay.
So
okay.
whichever, whenever the new impact fees are adopted, every plat after
Okay.
that.
So then that Montgomery bid in section 3 would probably receive the new?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So that 309 is based on
So
those.
potentially you could see the new.
It works such as that the impact fees are projected to go up, not just by rate, but also by volume, right? You hit that, hopefully 2 or 3 years, your inflation rate 4% is down, your contingencies are solid. it sounds like a no-brainer at 3.5.
I do have a question, is Redbird, so they're phase one, they have this, but do they, we adopt a new, so phase two and phase three would have the newly adopted, okay, that's significant then.
Correct. Yeah, it's not, so that was one thing in the agreement that it specifically states
They didn't ask us to
that
raise
it's
it.
impact fees at the time. So it's not impact fees at the time of the agreement, it's impact fees at the time of plat.
Gotcha.
So if it changes,
That was good for us.
it runs, because we couldn't agree to, we'll hold the $3,600 on the connection and then they don't develop it for 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's not locked in. It's agree.
So somebody needs to explain to me on page B1, self-supporting debt at 4.9 million, and I see there's a designation of how it's broken down.
Where?
Exhibit B
B1, Exhibit B.
on that agreement.
On the resolution? Yeah, we're gonna get to that, we're coming into it right now.
Okay.
Where is our hands? Oh, on the resolution.
Yeah, it's the resolution.
Talking about the actual agreement.
Yeah, the agreement.
So does the resolution have the
That's the very last.
dates on it?
So a couple things. You'll probably notice we had a cap on the 5 million, and I think in that brief, we had that on there as not to exceed amount, that doesn't commit us to those funds. It's just,
Right.
there's a little sticker shot for that. What was your question, Carol? I'm sorry.
Does it have dates on it as to when we're doing what? Like tomorrow night, we're gonna do the resolution
Yes,
supposedly. And then what do we do from there?
yeah, you bring up James's email, it's got it all in there.
Uh,
Just had it.
I thought you.
Yeah.
So once if we pass the resolution tomorrow,
Yeah.
then we turn it over to
The very next day.
you.
That's what the timeline says.
I have to put notices in the paper.
Fixing to say,
For how long?
There's things to do.
James?
He's gonna tell us.
The notice has to stay on the website, I believe, for at least 45 days, basically until the transaction is sold or closed out. I think it's until it's closed. So this is kind of a newer addition to the requirements, so it's got to go on the website. And the city will also publish in the local paper. I think that it'll get sent to the newspaper on Wednesday for publication on Friday. So the first day it appears in the newspaper will be this Friday. And from that date, it'll count 45 days, and the city can't sell bonds until after that. And so that's,
in December?
yes, and so that's kind of how we've laid it out. That would allow for there's a council meeting that's in the fall. So our plan would be to market this to investors across the country, and we would take competitive bids on the morning of December 12th. Bids would be to 10 a.m. Assuming a successful bid, we would present the results to council that evening, and council would consider adoption of the ordinance authorizing the issuance of the bonds. And so that's the bond sale, they're officially sold. And then there's a 30-day process of closing with the Texas Attorney General. The AG has to review all the bond transactions in the state to make sure that it's done according to the electric law. So that would put closing in middle of January, funds in hand, ready to start spending.
Oh, that was my next question. When is my money there?
90 days.
So it's sometime around January the 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long is the bond?
Well,
Not to exceed 40 years, but what does that mean?
I believe we've just been discussing a 20-year maturity.
Okay.
The city's issued
2020.
historically, the city's issued debt for utility projects for 20 years. I think that we talked about this a little bit, but I'm not an expert on how long the improvements will last, but, you don't want to find, what if that's fine, finance a laptop for 10 years, you put on a credit card. So, 20 years might be a reasonable time.
It's 20 years.
Typical 40 years for
I mean,
the
we
well.
don't have to
So,
pay it off.
Useful life, yeah, you'll be there, you'll exceed, there's always gonna be repairs and rehabs between, but yeah, useful life 20 years is.
I just, like you said, you don't want to have to keep paying debt on something that you have to borrow more money to redo, right? All right. 20 years now.
Okay.
And
And
5%,
then we make our
what do we
first
have?
payment, and then we make our first payment in March, according to this piece of paper.
Yes, it's up to the council, but I think that might be a reasonable payment, especially because your utility revenues are coming in every month. You only get your property taxes once a year, but because these are, my understanding is that these should be paid by utility revenues, you could push it to, say, September, but then you would have, looking at at least 7 or 8 months of interest, which would be a larger payment. Now, the question about the interest rate, I think that's a high estimate, 5.25. We sold, last Thursday, water district down in Dickinson. They sold $33 million in unlimited tax bonds. It's a 30-year term, and we got, this is great, it was an excellent result. They got a total of 7 bids, and they got 4.6. Insurance company about 4.6. So they have an A- rating, and Montgomery's got AA. These will be shorter maturity. So, I like to.
You're hopeful, or
I'm
you should be
hopeful.
hopeful?
Under promise and over deliver.
There you
So.
go. I'd love to see it 400, that's fantastic.
So when do we find out what that interest rate
It will be on December 12th.
is? December 12th.
So tomorrow night, this resolution is on the agenda, and it's a normal resolution. It went by all, one that we had another time, and everything is in here.
It was drafted, so I came on to the balance, so I'm assuming that's, it was ours.
Yeah.
Good.
And this is just a notice of intent. Does not obligate us to anything.
Okay.
It's just providing notice that we're going to do this.
Sorry, and there's I believe you asked about dates. The resolution does say that the city's intending to issue on this date, on December 12th. You can change that after adoption, but I think there may be some other action the council would need to take to change the date. So there's some numbers in there that are just for the public. It's required by the statute for the issuance of COs. I don't want to jump ahead, but there was questions about tax-supported debt, self-supported debt, and these are numbers that, for the purpose of the public, based on our understanding of how the city allocates its debt service accounts for taxes and utilities. So this is just fulfilling the state statutes.
With self-supporting, the pay-as-you-go.
That suggests it's paid from a source other than utility, I'm sorry,
Other
a
than
source other than taxes.
self-supported means like self-sufficient, the city's selling a service and paying it back, paying the debt with that service.
Combination of our fees.
We're not having to raise taxes.
Our utility.
This is all just water and sewer. Right. So impact fees are factored into the payment.
And I would certainly, if you all get any questions, you certainly explain that, this is, you can pay for this. Utility revenues, it's not a tax rate increase. It is a little confusing because the COs are actually, their security is an ad valorem tax. It's the taxing authority of the city, but you're able to pay for these sources. So I can see that the little confusion is,
So pay-as-you-go is an apt statement, sort of?
No.
No.
For For me, it's always been using cash on hand for,
So it is on hand, so you're not, okay.
It's revenues coming in from our water.
It's from revenue.
other than taxes.
Yeah, yeah.
Which makes
That would be the way to say it.
No taxes.
Revenue on this tax.
Yeah, that's the answer, no taxes.
Okay.
The one question I had on that resolution is I think there's, for the meeting on December 12th, it says 7 PM. Oh, we want it to be 7
Need to revise that.
6 o'clock.
But what does it mean to me? Is it kind of like?
What does what mean?
The 4.9, the revenue is not, the 4.9 million means we're able to handle that?
That, what Exhibit B is, purpose is to say, to advertise to the public, as of this date, this is how much debt the city has outstanding, and the total principal amount that is paid from a source other than taxes. The total 4.9 is paid by utility revenues.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. There was something other ongoing.
So if you want to see where it is, if you take this road and subtract that, that's what we're currently paying. So this is a total, this total line here is added to what our current debt service payment is to give us this grand total self-supported debt. So if you just subtract that out, that's how much we pay every year right now currently.
All right.
Yes.
Gary, this council, anything else?
I'm good.
I'm good with it.
Anything else?
Nothing else?
Go ask her.
Go ask it.
Thank you. It is 5:47 and the workshop is,
Just like